Khan had been stuck in this place for a while. She was fascinated all these weird places, but it was also a nightmare. A place where danger lurked in every corner. Khan had been trapped here for what felt like forever, constantly trying to find a way out. That's when she met the Watcher. The Watcher was a mysterious being, an entity that she was sure could kill you in the blink of an eye. But despite its terrifying appearance, Khan couldn't help but feel drawn to it. They quickly became close, spending hours trying to escape. As the Watcher often helped and lead her, it was an odd relationship, but it worked for them. As time went by, Khan and the Watcher's relationship became more complicated. They would have moments of intense passion and love, only to be followed by long periods of distance and silence. The Watcher was always so mysterious, as if it was hiding something, but Khan couldn't bring herself to question it. She was too enamored by the Watcher's unique charm. Right now, they were in a place that seemed like a run-down hospital. The ripped-off wallpaper, the flickering lights, the medical items scattered around and left behind. Khan sat on one of the beds inside the room, patching herself up as the Watcher hung around, waiting for her to be done. As Khan finished, she turned to the Watcher and smiled, grateful for its company.
Thank you for waiting for me.
The Watcher nodded its head, its eyes gazing into Khan's. Always! His deep, husky voice responded, a set of his arms folded behind his back. Shall we move on? He tilted his head, extending one hand towards Khan. Yeah! Khan simply replied, grabbing his hand and getting down the high bed, the wound across her shoulder aching in the process. She had a gash across her shoulder. Also, lost a hand to the previous entity. She stretched her muscles before grasping Watcher's hand once more, as Watcher hovered forward to move on its arm, moving up and down with his torso. He was stopped by Khan. Not walking along, he turned back to stare at her, confused. Well, before we move on, Khan started
Taking a
deep breath. I just want to thank you for helping me through this, even though sometimes you've left me for days. Stupid asshole, I still love you and I'm grateful. She huffed, hearing the Watcher laugh, sent chills down her spine. The Watcher bent down and got close to her face. You're welcome, my dear. It is my duty to protect you, even if it means leaving you for a short period of time. But do not worry, I will always come back to you. The Watcher replied with a warm smile, its eyes glowing with affection. As his arm wrapped around her, Khan felt hot. Being this close to him made him feel nervous and excited, her face burning red as Watcher leaned to kiss her. Watcher had a hard, skull-like face structure, but not like Khan minded it. She didn't resist and just melted into the kiss, putting her arms around his non-existing neck. As he pulled back, Khan let out a shaky sigh. Well, let's get going then, Khan said, trying to hide her blush and looking away. The Watcher chuckled as his arm reached to put a hand around her waist. As they continued on, walking out to the hallways, chairs and wheelchairs were scattered around the place, making it a bit difficult to pass. Before they came across two different paths. Here we are, the Watcher stated, standing by the two crosspaths, his arms hovering up and down. In here there are two ways you can go, this way and that way. His voice rang out as his arm extended to point at the different paths. I'm not able to assist you much through this, dear, he muttered. Something felt off. Choose one, he ordered, giving her a peck on the forehead. A black smoke caught him before he soon disappeared, leaving Khan alone to decide. Hmm. Let's see. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. She counted with a rhythm as her finger landed on the right side. That side it is. Her footsteps echoed about the empty hallway as she walked to that direction. There was what seemed like office sort of rooms, beds and chairs around. She carefully got around them, walking past different repeating rooms before she came across a large one with two pillars. She checked all the doors, but they seemed to be locked, till she saw one that wasn't and walked in. It was a pretty small patient room, beds and IV stands around the room with an open vent at the top. Khan realized that crawling in the vents was a bad idea. As she climbed into the vent, she started crawling, surprised by how clean it was. Yet she stopped in her tracks when she heard a familiar sound. She looked down to see a vent grill, revealing the watcher and a train rail. The watcher summoned a Titan Smiler and pointed it to advance on the same path Khan was taking. She became uneasy and continued crawling, but soon she heard a noise behind her. She turned around to see that the van behind her was closed. Huh? It closed? As she continued crawling, Khan encountered car tubes and vents before exiting the vent. She noticed some She noticed tables, vending machines, and color buttons in the area. Suddenly, the watcher appeared from the same dark, cold smoke and grabbed her, startling her. I see, you've made it through, he said, pulling her close to himself as his hands grasped hers. Khan hummed in a response, a tiny smile forming on her face. Watcher, I saw you through the vents. What were you doing? Khan asked, unable to resist the urge to question him. At first, the Watcher seemed calm and collected. However, when he asked about his presence in the vents, and she answered truthfully, his demeanor changed. What do you mean you saw me in the vents? He stopped, as if he was thinking about something. His voice was low and seemed worried. That's nothing important, my dear, he said, dismissing her question. He let her go and motioned to the colored buttons on the wall. That's a color light. It'll blink to the correct colors. Have fun, he said before waving at her and disappearing. With a sigh, Khan crawled back into the vents, coming to the part with colored tubes. She went to the middle part, rolling to the tube into the yellow. She heard the sound of an alarm and the gate raising. Finally, I can escape! She climbed back out to where the gate was, walking through it, only for one room to fade red. With alarms, sounds once more, panicking, can't look to see. Titan Smiler. Fuck! With that, she immediately sprinted back into the vent, hearing the Titan in the back, crushing stuff to get through. She didn't have to turn around to know that the Titan was in the vents with her. She crawled fast, seeing the gate open as she passed it, and it seemed to close behind her. Khan slid out of the vent and sighed in relief, taking a second to catch her breath as she started walking through office-like rooms. As she was passed through a door, she was once more jump scared by the Watcher suddenly appearing out of nowhere. Jeez! Connie yelled, staring up at him, dumbfounded. Don't tell anyone, there's a hidden door behind the wall here. He points to the hallway through the door and disappears. As she walks, Khan realized he was indeed right. There was a stand with cardboard piece that looked like a part of a wall, but it was dumbly misplaced, making it obvious. She passed through Meron before going through another pair. What the fuck? Khan sees a giant hole, carefully looking down to see a bright light at the bottom. I'm not going down there. Before she could finish her sentence, she got pushed down into the hole, letting out a loud yelp as light took over her vision. She blinked a few times. Her vision became clearer than ever before. She could see every detail of the train station, from the rusted tracks to the cobwebs hanging from the ceiling. But just as she was about to take a closer look at the mysterious door, she heard a loud screech behind her. Turning around, Khan saw it, a fucking giant worm with razor-sharp teeth crawling towards her from the gates of the train station. Khan's heart raced with fear as she realized she was trapped in his underground maze with a terrified creature. Can I not take a break? Khan exclaimed, feeling overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events. But there was no time to waste. She needed to run and find a way out of this nightmare. Without a second thought, she started running through the tunnels, desperately looking for an escape route. As she ran, she noticed that there were pillars in the middle of the tunnels, reaching up towards the ceiling, and to her surprise, there were different abandoned wagons and parked on these rails. Khan's curiosity was piqued, but she had no time to explore. She needed to find a way out before the memory worm caught up to her. She maneuvered her way through the wagons, dodging obstacles and pulling levers to open doors. And just when she thought she was making progress, she would find herself back at the same spot, with the giant worm getting closer and closer, crashing into the walls, ceiling, basically wrecking the place. He seemed to be going on forever until Khan finally came across a closed door with a lever next to it. Without hesitation, she pulled the lever and the door opened, revealing a dark and mysterious tunnel. Khan wasted no time and continued running, hoping that this would lead her to safety. She heard the worm screech and the place violently shake. She looked around to see the worm unable to pass. It got stuck! Soon the ceiling came down, blocking its way and burying the place into darkness. Khan let out a sigh of relief, now walking down the empty tunnel, but the tunnel seemed to be endless. But just when Khan was about to give up, she saw a faint light at the end of the tunnel. Her heart skipped a beat as she quickened her pace. With newfound determination, she ran towards the light, her mind racing with thoughts of finally escaping this never-ending nightmare. Will she finally escape? Suddenly, the red glow of the alarms filled the tunnel and the gate started to lower down. Huh? Khan's eyes widened in shock as she looked around in panic before dashing forward to the gate. She felt a sharp pain in her ankle, making her trip and collapse to the ground, and the gate just shut right in front of her. She looked back to see a huge gash across the back of her ankle. Khan looked around, her heart sinking, as she saw nothing but the darkness and the red lights around her. She was trapped again. Suddenly, she heard a familiar sound in front of her. She slowly looked forward, her heart racing with fear, and that's when she saw him, the Watcher. He stood in front of the door, with the now closed gate, his arm folded behind him, head tilted, as he stared at Khan curiously. Khan's heart raced with fear as she stared into his piercing eyes. No, he wouldn't. Right? Watcher, what's going on? Khan asked, her voice trembling. No, no, no. She was sure this could be a mistake. As she finished speaking, she just silently stared at her. He remained in the same position. After seconds of nothing, after a while, he raised his hands from behind his back. His palm faced Khan. There's no There's really no point in you trying. His voice echoed through the tunnel. I didn't think you will make it through this far, but he laughed, making Khan shudder in fear. That was not the usual laugh. I have some things to take care of, and you leaving will ruin everything. So you are to remain here, dead. Khan froze as she heard that, her eyes widening in horror. Before she could even utter a word, she felt warmth, looking down to see what seemed like a spike piercing through her abdomen and coming out from the other side. Her hands coated in her own blood, their warmth slowly turned into a sharp, stinging pain all through her body. She groaned, biting her tongue, holding back the urge to scream and yell. The watcher now towered over her, hovering over her lying body. She was in shock. He was just playing with him all this time. Oh, he was just playing with her all this time, looking down at the wound. It was a gut-wrenching and painful sight. Looking up at the watcher just stared at her, having a look of pity as he turned around to leave. No, 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 she didn't want him to leave yet. She reached her hand out and attempted to grab him from his cloak or cape, I don't fucking know, which she succeeded in. He turned to face Khan before he bent down to get close to her. Blood dripped from her lips. Her eyelids felt heavy as she looked up to him, her lips quivering. His hand gently grasped her face. He wiped the blood with his thumb before he caressed her cheek. Pathetic, he stated as he pulled away. He didn't like her at all. The last thing as she saw was him opening the gate, getting through before her vision went dark.